Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 524, and today we're doing battle with Priestess of Desert Light, Elder Dragon. And so, at this point of the Fates Voyage Beyond meta, we've seen all kinds of Elder Dragon decks focusing on these 6+ cost units. The most popular one, probably the Nora decks running the Condense along with Lord Broadmane and Riptide Rex. We see the Elusives, attacky kind of decks using Wiggly Burblefish and Plaza Guardian, and oftentimes with Saiyan Thousand Tailed. We've seen the Elite style of decks with the Scout unit that gets the reduced cost, and even in our previous video, we covered off on Seku's deck from Worlds using Dragons to take advantage of the Elder Dragon bonus and then the cheapness you get from the likes of Cloud Drake. But today, we're going to move a little bit further away from that highly competitive end of the spectrum, a little bit into that more casual space, and we're going to look at the Priestess of Desert Light. And so the Priestess is arguably one of the more powerful cards in the game, assuming that she can stick around on the board. So at round start, she takes 4 damage, and then you draw a champion and give it +2/+2. But the big kicker with the Priestess is if your deck started with 6 different champions, you summon it instead. And so if the Priestess is on the board at the start of the turn, you get to boost a champion and put it immediately onto the board. And so it's a very powerful ability, but it's not something that's really just worth using once, right? If we're going to put the Priestess on the board, if she spikes Aurelion Soul, then great, we did a good job, but we aren't playing 6 Aurelion Souls, right? We have 6 different champions in here. There's a chance we hit Diana, there's a chance we hit Yumi, and that's not really what we're looking to get out of the Priestess. So you would ideally be getting multiple activations out of the Priestess, and that's always been the big question in terms of how you can make her work. And so you typically do this with Freylord, right? In the space of Freylord, you can play Udyr and put a stance swap on her. You can play things like Omen Hawk to boost its stats up to a 5/5. You might play something like Spirits Unleashed to give all the units in your deck a bonus so that she gets those 2 activations if she's gone through unimpaired. But that is where the Elder Dragon is going to come in to strike. And so this is a 6-cost card. It's going to have the Elder Dragon boon-based abilities attached to it. If we take any of the +1/+1 abilities, then the Priestess is going to survive since she'll be a 5/5. And then if we pick up Deathless as well, she'll survive that and be able to roll into the next turn. And so the Elder Dragon gives us a very interesting way to take advantage of these Priestesses that gives us that really nice longevity across any game should it come out and survive. Otherwise, we're playing a fairly straightforward Targon-based Elder Dragon deck. We have a lot of early game board stall between the Youngling, the Sunhawk, and the Lisa and Dolly. We play the only reasonable removal within Targon between the Sunburst and the Falling Star, and then we have a little bit of board stall between the Dark Bindings and the Celestial Wonder. Up at the top end space, we do have a couple of hits besides the Priestess of Desert Light. Soul Gorger is one of the cards that does not see a ton of 6th-class play these days, but there's a bunch of decks that really have absolutely no answer to a Soul Gorger hitting the board, and this does give you an absolute ton of longevity, and so it is a fairly reasonable card if our game plan is to get a Priestess down and then wait a turn for a champion and then wait another turn for a champion. We just need time in that kind of sense, and the Soul Gorger works there fantastically. Otherwise, the big problem that all of our units have, whether or not it's Aurelion Soul or Eclipse Dragon or Cloud Drake, is none of them have Overwhelm, Elusive, or Rally, and so we have to find a way to come in and actually close out the game. And that's where Artiana is going to hit. Hitting this Rally ability should allow all of our big units to just attack, clear out the opposing board, get the Rally, attack again, and get the win. Or, more excitingly, she does work nicely with the Elder Dragon if we have a big board to help get him flipped to get the big KO that way. Okay, and so before the battles begin, you all know what we got to do. We got to come out and pay that pay-to-win price. And where you at, Lisa and Dolly? Ready to give you that sweet premium treatment. This is good for us and good for the opponent, right? It generates these premium shackles. You get to put the prismatic shackles into the opposing hand. Works extra strong, extra good, extra powerful when you're delivering prismatic shackles. It says it in the flavor text, They made sure to put that in there. It says works extra good if turned prismatic. But alright, yeah, again, as with the previous video, we're going to get a little bit shorter set of games. My voice and my throat still aren't completely agreeing with me after a few days of sickness, and so got to see how long the voice holds up. I was hurting in the previous video after 2 games, and then I had to kind of pause the third game a few times through. and so we'll see if we can make it through 3 this time. But as far as this goes, up against Karma Sett, this is a fairly challenging matchup. They are very well tuned to dealing with a lot of late game and a lot of end game, especially in the sense that we're going to play a Cloud Drake on turn 5. Opponent can fairly easily answer it with a stun, right? And so we aren't one of these decks that can put a lot of aggression on the board early. That's what Karma Sett Freylord really doesn't want to see. And so we'll probably struggle a little bit in this one, but we did get a nice ramp draw between the Dragon Worshipper into Cloud Drake. That's going to let us hit this Tiana for 6 mana, and ideally that will give us enough board presence to close out the game. We're going to pick up an aggro. Are we going to get an aggro Cosmic Youngling down on turn 2? Doesn't appear to be the case. That's okay. I'd say everybody can sit around and just pass until turn 4. Definitely play the Lisa and Dolly on literally anything. I would suppose the opponent really wants to just ramp this turn, right? You want to play the 4-mana ramp spell or the one that generates a 2/2. Ideally, we'll get some kind of target out of the Lisa and Dolly, but even if we don't, I'm still just gonna play her to get a unit on board. All right, we got a target.
Okay, Dolly, just like you showed me.
All right, let's keep these combats rolling. We'll get the Dragon Worshipper down now. Be ready to go with the Cloud Drakes on the following turn. Get these big aggro's in. Uh-oh. Opponent's ramping hard.
Dolly packs a punch.
A Sky Singer, sure thing. At least we got the big bros on board now, ready to come down and combat a 3/6. You say, I can deal with that. I can win that fight. Keep at it. We have this fresh stun with the Sunhawk, right? We gotta use these cards at some point so we can get the 1-mana Sunhawk down. We can follow up with the Cloud Drake. Ideally get a pretty powerful attack in this turn, and then maybe next round look towards a rally. So what do we want here? Do we want the Deathless? I don't think so. It's just, as we're up against Freylord Ionia, there shouldn't be a ton of ways for the opponent to actually kill this unit in combat. Like, yeah, stuns are fine. Nothing we can do about that, but I feel like he's pretty safe here.
I'm not just a kid.
And we'll send. If he wants to block one of our smaller units with the Sky Singer, I think that's okay. The question here is going to be, do we really want to play Tiana on this next turn? And she can do some work. I mean, we have the second Sunhawk to get a stun on a Sky Singer, then add in the Tiana, maybe clear out most of the board, and then go for an open attack. The thing that's going to be fairly problematic on our 2 turns from now is opponent will be loaded up to 10 mana, and so these Feral Mystics are going to be 6/6s if they survive to the next attack token. And so a little bit worried about that space. Opponent thinking on it hard, though. Big time decisions here. Big time. Slap into base, man. I watched I Love You, Man again a few days ago. If you're not familiar with the wonderful works of Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, absolutely fantastic movie. But I can't do the leprechaun accent. I'm sure. I'm sure if I tried to pull off an accent, it would come out as leprechaun-y, but we'll say big time slap onto base for Paul Rudd. He can keep that to himself a little later. All right, what you got for us, my dude? The big critical turn. See if he comes in, tries to add a Sett to the board or something. I don't know if I actually approve of Sett or not. It's kind of challenging in the sense that The Sky Singers are what's more problematic here with our lifesteal, being able to block a 7/7 and gain 3 along the way. Can't tell if opponent's actually here or not. The timer's been very odd this game. It's like he's just out here roping. The thing that we should know at this point that I'm honestly unaware of is how impact works in regard to these lifesteal units. Right? We don't get to just deal the impact damage before the lifesteal happens, right? I think the damage happens at the same time. Would be good to know. Would be good to know. Alright, maybe opponent isn't actually here. Still take our W's where you could get them, right? No guarantees. I could definitely see the opponent coming back and being like, "Oops, I accidentally went at this point," and so we won't count those eggs until they hatch. The Tiana comes in. Deathless is very strong with her. This isn't the matchup to where Deathless, really shine, but as we always see with things like Saiyan Thousand Tailed and see with the Deathless Rekindlers, having the unit die and come back on someone, giving a rally, very powerful ability, and so we'll see if it comes into relevance. Like, it strikes me as not important this turn, but perhaps next turn as to where, if opponents say blocks Tiana here with the tail of the dragon and they're kind of forced to put a Feral Mystic in front, she could definitely die that way. I think that's a little bit short in terms of damage, but I could see a world where she doesn't survive a combat, gives us a rally. What? GG? Alright, next battle. And so yeah, we finished up the Champion Draft Series last night. I did not get last place. I feel kind of bad in the sense I didn't get to publish the content from our past 2 weeks. We played against Spids 2 weeks ago. If you caught the Worlds coverage, Spids won Season 1 of the Champion Draft Series, and then now she handles the APAC English broadcasts for the Opens, and then she did a ton of Worlds coverage this season. And then if you follow Runeterra.ar, you ought to be familiar with Cephalopod. He posts all kinds of fantastic decks to Runeterra.ar. Often hangs out on the front page of the ladder rankings. And those were our past 2 opponents. We lost to Spids, but managed to take down victory against Cephalopod to finish off our season at 2-7. So it was fun. I had a great time with it, but as you can tell by my voice and my lack of content creation, the sickness across the course of the past week and some other life stuff got in the way. I wasn't really able to get those together for the weekly matches.
Don't want to die? Don't do terrible things.
Alright though, up against Akshan Mordekaiser. We'll see what we can do here. Reasonable enough start with the birds. Excuse me, getting the stun-based shutdowns on Akshan. I'm just going to keep up this aggression. Keep him from getting boosted up, and then we can look to Sunburst on this next turn. Somebody in hand went Deathless. We'll have to see if that's going to be an interesting Sunburst target. You usually just go for the likes of Rekindlers, and he's not a great Sunburst target. He's already kind of done the work before he hits the board, but we'll see what happens. Sure. Get that aggro youngling down next turn. As we'll have to see. Like, I'm not really opposed to just playing a Sunburst next turn if that's what presents itself, but we'll have to see. Nobody's scared of this 2-damage Sunhawk that's coming through, so the aggros aren't that big right now. I think I like this send. Like again, there's not a ton of units I really care about in terms of being able to hit with Sunburst, but I think it's safe to just go ahead and like give him an opportunity to surprise us with something, you know. And then if he does, we get to Sunburst. If he doesn't, then it's kind of whatever. Otherwise, just adding the biggest unit to the board. Our mana's going to be a little bit awkward here, but I think that's okay at the end of the day. Now the real question is, do we want to lead with the Priestess or do we want to lead with the Cloud Drake? Like the cheapening up of our units isn't that spectacular over the course of the next couple of turns. I'd say whatever we play here is just gonna get popped by a Vengeance though. And so I'm kind of just leaning towards adding the Cloud Drake first, since it's already given us a little bit of value once it hits the board. Double hate spike, sure thing. It is just a touch awkward in that space though, right? We have the Eclipse Dragon to cheapen up the dragons, but we want to play the other dragon first and stuff. So, we'll see. Alright, combat. I guess this bird attack isn't that good. As soon as I got it in, I was kind of like, oh, he's just going to die. But again, I want to give the opponent a chance to spend a little bit of mana before we drop the Priestess. She's very, very easy to get KO'd here. And so, unlike the other dragon that comes on board and gives us a little bit of an effect, she needs to survive for a turn to get that up and running. And so, she'll be okay here. She'll even get one activation in the face of Mordekaiser, and then if he doesn't open, we'll get the chance to try and Sunhawk him down. This has been the real bummer with the Sunburst though, playing against the Mordekaisers and just not being able to get the kill. He's got 8 health naturally, and so the 6 damage from Sunburst isn't quite enough. Can be useful though. I mean, he's got Deathless and he's got the Slay thing attached to him, so silences aren't the end of the world. But it's only a silence for this round. Hey, looky there, we got a big dragon. I don't have big expectations for it. When your opponent gets to untap with Mordekaiser, things tend to be going downhill. But I don't know. Maybe he takes a hook on this Priestess, and then we get to just drop the Sunburst directly on Mordekaiser. Wouldn't hate that. And a Vengeance. Some people just don't like to have fun, you know? Curious to see if this Priestess survives. She dies to pretty much everything here. I don't think she's ultra likely to make the turn. She's come back stunned, right? Oh, it doesn't make exact copies. Yeah. So we get to clear board. The question is, are we going to actually kill this Mordekaiser before the next turn, right? He's already spent the Deathless on him. I mean, I just don't think we can give that up. Well, maybe not. Like, what if we add the Priestess and then next turn we just open Sunburst? Gets hit by Rite of Negation, but he doesn't have any units on board. Alright, let's be greedy. We gotta win this game some way, right? It's like if he's gonna have Rekindlers, then they're just gonna bring back Mordekaiser anyways. let's send. That's a lethal. That's a lethal, fam. Gets us primed and ready to drop this to drop this Tiana. Fading icon's a little bit more problematic. Got to get a little bit more bored. Still might be able to sunburst something. There's the Rekindler. Didn't have high expectations there. But we can go ahead and take this Rekindler off the board. So if he's going to have a hate spike or something next turn, he at least doesn't get the free resummons. I'd say the game's probably done at this point. I mean, maybe we should have gone for Tiana so that we could try and say, like, if we hit Challenger on Tiana. Gosh, I mean, she's still not even big enough to take down the flipped Mordekaiser. Okay. GG. It's tough. That's a tough match. It's one of those spaces to where, if you're not familiar with the technology from Worlds, the biggest anti-Mordekaiser tech was going to be Minimorph, right? So your opponent plays the Mordekaiser, you just flip him into the 3/3 Mini-T, and it really just kind of aces their strategy from that point forward. And so it's also like if you... I can't remember if I didn't make a video with it, but the deck we hit Masters with was I was playing Nora Elder Dragon, but much more aggressively. So we were playing the 2/1 unit that generates pranks, the Elusive. And then we were also playing Windsinger instead of playing things like Lord Broadmane. So if your opponent did play Mordekaiser, you could just send him back to hand, and it was a humongous tempo play. And so another powerful thing that was there. But all right, this is going to be our last game up against everybody's favorite deck, Lurk. Whew, man, they've started talking about rotation, and I can't hope more that Lurk gets rotated away. It's actually kind of tough for me. Like I get why the deck gets to exist. It's a very linear deck, and so if you're trying to teach someone new the game, it's very nice to have these kind of very straightforward strategies to where the decision weight is pretty low, right? You're out here trying to learn what the cards do and how the various mechanics work. It sucks to have to think about like 1,000 different things, so if you can cut it down to only having to think about 100 different things, it really cuts down on the brain power it takes. But it's just one of those decks that's been around for fucking 3 years and get tired of playing against it. Sure. Alright, we'll keep healing and stuff. It's gonna be pretty sweet coming down and dropping these big 6 and 8 mana dragons and trading them with our opponent's 2 mana units. So whoa, no play. I'll take it. Interesting. Alright, Cloud Drake, what are you going to do for us today? Probably just want to go with the stats. The only real reason to want to pick up the Challenger is going to be in the face of Pike. And given he's only predicted once, I don't think I'm going to try and play around Pike at this point. Seems okay. Both of our Drakes should be bigger than his board next turn. Give us a decent attack. Got here. We'll take Deathless off of this one. Give us that opportunity to trade. Alright, Dragon Squad. Let's get you into battle.
Listen to me.
And the targets really ramp up. It's easy for me to forget that
Don't touch it.
the boons give bonuses to Morgana, and so as these units do come on board, they help her level up. Very nice. So I think this is safe. Again, like the only card I'm particularly worried about at this point is Pike. Seems like he's about to be the one to come in, but this is fine hitting the Deathless unit. We still have a Dark Binding on the ready should he try and drop Rek'Sai. And this isn't a particularly leveled Pike at this point, so I think we're looking okay. I mean, we have a lot of opportunity to go ham this turn. Like, if he plays a Rek'Sai and she's bigger than Pike, she should be at this point, right? If we get the stun on her with Sunhawk and then get a Morgana Curse, that's a pretty big game. Now we know his Pike can't actually kill something like a Cloud Drake, so that should be safe. He's just not going to get into combat here. We get to drop a Morgana on him. Alright, so Morgana onto Pike. Then we're going to rally with Tiana. And then we're going to start doing that combat thing everybody's talking about.
Allies, answer my call.
Take Fearsome, she's already got Tough.
The heavens are watching.
No hesitation.
That's what a good attack looks like. Look at that. Get trucked. Nobody even died. LOL. Alright, Battle Step, here we go. Get out of here, Lurk.
I am Dragon's wrath.
There's probably some way Pike just AoEs our whole team, right? I don't know what it is, but we're getting too optimistic out here. We're getting too greedy about what's happening. He's got the 2 circles on the board. That's probably just some Pike AoE, killing everybody. Did he do it? Did he kill the squad? Neg 11 rolling in. Okay, I saw the 2 spells hit, and I was like, oh fuck, he did it. He did it. But wasn't quite enough for the AoE. Alright, GG. Well played. Good set of battles. And so again, we can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. It's not the strongest iteration of the Elder Dragon, if you will, but the Priestess is always pretty cool, and she's much more functional in the space of Eternal when you have more champion selection in terms of what you're able to bring. And so very interesting set of stuff. And again, there's just tons of ways to build these Elder Dragons here. We did use the Priestess of Desert Light, very powerful stuff that you're able to do, but also worth kind of as you're building your different Elder Dragon decks, worth taking a look at Soul Gorger, worth taking a look at Tiana. There are other pretty powerful options that you don't always see running around. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching. This is Bustin' We. Thank you for being here.